This is this week's big movie. This is the new Evil Dead. Evil Dead
Ooh,
Rise.
Rise,
How
yeah.
exciting for a new Evil Dead movie. And firstly, I would just really, really love to say that I think this movie is the perfect way of redoing Evil Dead and moving away from things that not necessarily, I believe, have bogged the Evil Dead franchise down. You know,
With the cabin.
sticking with Ash, sticking with the cabin, sticking with all this stuff, because Ash versus Evil Dead as a TV show I loved. Even the Evil Dead remake from 2013. It was a
I
remake.
enjoyed it.
It stuck with the cabin though, didn't it? It was a remake.
Yeah.
Of essentially the first movie. It stuck with the
And
cabin.
so,
It was a
yeah,
different story.
even
It was just
here
tonally different.
I we get the tease of the cabin. And you have to think,
Totally.
I trust the hands of an executive produced by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. So
Absolutely.
obviously, I think their, executive producer can mean a ton of things in terms of involvement. But I'd like to think they really wanted to at least have the voice of the original films echoing in this one. So, throwing in a lot of the elements, the dead eye kind of zooming across, into areas, and the some of the quick shots and the POV shots and things like that. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's it does. It does all of that wonderfully. And yes, having them both as executive producers. I'm almost surprised Ted Raimi's not an executive producer as well.
Yeah.
Because he's just as, lovable for the Evil Dead franchises as
Yeah.
those two are, really.
Yeah.
His brother and Bruce Campbell. But I forget I almost forget what I was saying now. This movie is a perfect way of keeping Evil Dead, but having it move into completely fresh territory.
Yeah.
In a completely new direction. You can now, thanks to this movie being as really good as it was, I think you can do anything with Evil Dead. I think Evil Dead now does not have to be a cabin with Ash, which is what Evil Dead has had to be
Yeah.
for its entire life, really. For people to be interested in it, for people to want to go for it.
Yeah.
And
But I think
yes,
people
that
actually
remake,
really enjoyed the remake. Yeah.
they did, and I did. I haven't seen it in a long time. I can remember little of it, to be honest with you, but I do remember enjoying it. Obviously, what that did was just tonally switch it up. It changed it from being a goofy movie to a really quite serious, nasty
Yeah.
slasher movie. But it still had all the elements of Evil Dead. What Evil Dead Rise has is at the most core important elements of Evil Dead, while switching up so much, switching completely new characters, a completely new almost message. There's a message to this movie. This movie is actually has a kind of motherly story to it,
Yes, that parenting
which
aspect and that protective
has never
aspect.
happened in an Evil Dead movie.
Yes, I mean, we've gotten
Evil Dead has
couples.
been a franchise. Evil Dead has been a franchise that has predominantly and really only focused on just being, what crazy things can you show?
Yes,
What
and
insane things
even
can happen?
and even the
This
relationships.
was
Mhm.
focused, even the relationships. This movie was focused on more than that.
Yeah.
This movie was focused on a story that was more grounded than that. It's
Mhm.
easily the most grounded thing to have ever come out of Evil Dead. And that is not to this movie's detriment. That is to this movie's benefit, because it
Yes.
still has the stupid Deadites in there who are laughing around and joking around and mocking people and calling people horrible names and breaking people's arms in humorous ways
Yeah.
and having elevators come to life and things like that. It's doing everything like that. I love so much about The Evil Dead the seriousness of which it takes its own demonic lore, but those demons, those deadites, then being the most unserious demons you've ever
Yes,
come across.
just talking so much shit and, manipulating you and, uh, just having fun in this demonic, spirit, but the movie as a whole taking itself completely seriously.
Yeah, which Evil Dead hasn't done. Evil Dead's always had a sense of not taking itself seriously because it just
Yeah,
wants to be
and being
it
kind of
wants
this
to be gory, it
self-aware.
wants to be
Yeah,
entertaining, it wants to
mhm.
be a little bit self-aware. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
a little bit campy.
Um,
Yeah.
Certainly Evil Dead 2, I think, is particularly aware of itself because is it a remake of the first? Is it a sequel to the first? Is it Sam Raimi just going, we have more money now, let's half
Let's
redo
just
the first, but
remake.
half make it a sequel? We don't
Yeah.
really know what Evil Dead 2 is. It's a bit of everything.
Yes. So I think even just like I said with the relationships, like, in the first two movies you're dealing with couples, in the remake you're getting like a friendship dynamic, brother and
Yeah,
sister. So I think what really can latch you onto a more serious tone is really focusing in on these mothering themes with,
yeah,
the sister, having to deal with impending motherhood and being scared of that, and then being thrust into this position where she is going to have to step up and be a protector to these kids. So when you add those layers of this mother daughter kind of dynamic and relationship, or mother children dynamic, um, on top of a sisterly dynamic as well,
yeah,
I think that adds more emotional stakes and definitely gives you a more serious tone. But then you have your possessed entities again just talking so much shit and being completely ridiculous. I was in a screening with a bunch of annoying people next to me literally laughing at
oh dear.
everything, the mother was saying when she was possessed and, um, just
Well,
laughing
I
at
mean,
everything and
it's not wrong to do because this is what the Deadites have always brought on.
yes.
They are funny demons. They are
Yeah.
comedic.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't laugh at everything. That's a
No,
bit
they were laughing at everything, they
much.
were being completely obnoxious, talking out loud, calling things out, like,
There was
yeah,
that's
they
a
were
bit
really annoying. They were really
unnecessary. You don't
annoying.
need that.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider the tone of the movie, like we say, is very grounded. It's very small scale
Yeah.
as well, which I suppose Evil Dead's mostly always been. I think that Ash versus Evil Dead, the TV show, was as large scale as Evil Dead ever gotten. To
Well,
be
I
fair, it
mean,
did get
I
pretty
think
large
Army of
scale, the entire
Darkness kind of
town. And
yeah, I
Army
mean,
of
or
Darkness, yes, okay, but
yeah.
Army of Darkness, it's almost its separate thing because
Well,
it's
yeah. Well, I've
it
never seen that's
in
actually the
medieval
one.
times.
Yes, that's actually the one Evil Dead movie I haven't seen. I've never seen Army of Darkness, but I'm just, from what I know of it, it's yeah, it's medieval times and this whole different thing. So in terms of, I guess, scope and grandness, I think
I
that
guess
would
so. I
probably
suppose
be,
that's fair.
in comparison to these that are very much bottle films, kind of in one location focused.
Yeah. And I do like the location as well of a
Yeah, this setup
condemned
of this.
apartment building
Yeah.
that's going to be demolished, and there's only a handful of people still living
Still
in
living
there.
there. Yeah, so that definitely adds to the isolated, eerie vibes of what's happening. It adds to the kind of scariness of it, and just this
There's
dark, dank place surrounded by homeless
yeah,
and the rain, and
yeah,
they really set
yeah.
up
The
some
the
good
one t-
atmosphere.
the one day a year it rains in LA,
Yeah.
or the one it really rains. It
Yeah,
just the Kandarian demons just happen to choose this day to
of
to
course. To rise up.
expel
Yeah.
themselves, not expel themselves, to rise up. Yes.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it's strange, really, because we have an earthquake, don't we? That kind of
Hmm.
opens up a hole in the
In the
floor of the car park of
yeah.
this apartment building, and the son of our kind of, well, who turns into our main deadite for the entire movie, the mother.
Yeah.
Um, he goes exploring, finds this old bank vault because this building used to be a
Was
bank, and
built. Yeah.
What's locked in this bank vault? Oh, there's a load of strange old papers here, a load of old records. What's on
Records,
these
bunch of
records? Because,
hanging crucifixes. Yeah.
yeah, and then a
Rosaries.
tomb. What's in this
Yeah.
tomb? And I'm thinking, what is in this tomb? Is there going to be a dead body in this tomb? Oh, no, wait. It's a wrapped up book.
Yes,
Let
covered in
I
bugs. Yeah.
wonder what this book's going to be.
And it has
And it
creepy
was
teeth
actually,
on it. Yeah.
it's a different book.
It
It
is.
isn't our old
Mhm.
famous Necronomicon
Necronomicon.
from
Yeah.
Evil Dead. This is a different Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
Because there's several volumes, you see. I think there's 3 volumes of the Book
Yes,
of the
and I
Dead
think that's
in
what the
Evil Dead
director
1.
wanted to do. He didn't want to use the same book. He wanted to allude to one of the 3 that we saw in another movie
Yeah.
or the show, or I can't remember.
Yeah, the show, I think, had a
Yeah.
couple, from what I
Yeah.
can remember. But it
Yes.
wasn't the, Necronomicon with the face on and everything like that.
Yeah, so that
It
was
wasn't that
purposeful. He
book,
wanted to pick a different volume of ones that we had seen in another
which I
Evil Dead
like.
thing. Yeah.
Which I like. I like because it wouldn't have made sense to me really. What? Because this is ultimately a sequel, I
Yeah.
suppose, or is it? Well, it is, but because it's in that world, so I don't think it would have made sense to use that book, given what we know of that book. It would make
Yeah.
sense to have a completely different book. Obviously, you play the records, don't you? As
Of
you
course you
would,
do.
being nosy,
Yeah.
and you have
Yes.
the book. You take the book up. Of course, the book
Do try to
opens
get it
when you
open.
bleed on
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and then you look at all these nice pictures in the book. And
Oh,
don't
so
we all
pretty.
want these pictures hanging up
Oh
on our
yeah,
wall?
great.
I think some people do. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind a couple of them.
Really? Really?
I mean, it would be a bit creepy.
I think so.
I do think Evil Dead, like I said though, it takes its demonic lore so seriously, so
Yeah.
religiously, but they end
Good
up
choice of
just
words.
being they end up being jokesters, tricksters
Mhm.
for demons, don't they? They are not as serious as the book would have you believe they should be.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no.
And
Again, talking so much shit. Yeah.
even when they get to full demon form, like we see in this movie, again, spoilers for Evil Dead Rise, I suppose that should have to be said. But when you see later on in this movie, and every one of our dead people up to this point merge into this one massive
Oh,
arms, it looks like the
yeah.
Thing almost, doesn't it?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
merges into this one just
Whole
congealed
big thing.
mass.
Yeah, crawling
Um,
around. Yeah.
that is its own demon because we've actually seen a picture in the book of this particular demon. I don't know what
Yeah,
it's
and I think
called.
there's a point too when a transformation does happen, they kind of go and show us the audience like it's comparative kind of look in the
Yes, they
book.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. I think it's when the mother gets caught up in the elevator and all the elevator wires kind of contort her, and that's
Like the
when she first
vines.
kind of
Yeah.
becomes possessed. And we see
Yeah.
the corresponding image in the book, don't we? Um, but even when it gets to that stage, I think even that full demon is a jokester. Like, it's
Yeah.
more serious at that point because it's not just a possessed person. I think
Mhm.
when they're just possessed people, they're full deadites really, as opposed to full Kandarian demons, whatever it is. Deadites themselves are entirely all about the making fun of the situation.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
the demons do take it more seriously. The actual full demons are more serious, but even they're still able to play the odd trick. And we
Yes.
even
Yeah.
got that in this movie. But again, what just impressed me the most, and what always impresses me the most about Evil Dead, is the quality of the effects. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
everything here is
It
practical.
looked really
Everything.
good. Mhm.
This
Yeah.
this has been a staple of Evil Dead and always will be. I think everything here is practical, and it's so gory.
Yeah.
It's so gory. I mean, there is blood everywhere
Oh,
in
and,
this
like, the
movie.
vomiting and
The
yeah. Mhm.
vomiting is, all vomiting all these bugs and
Eyeball
all these,
eating and yeah,
yeah.
intestines falling out and, yeah.
But the kind of, I suppose, the look of our mother as the kind of lead deadite in this movie herself, her looks really good. I mean, it's as easy as put a pair of contact lenses in and have your face kind of done up with latex
Scratched
and
up.
scratched up
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all this kind of stuff,
and made
but it
more
just
pale
works so
and
well.
teeth and yeah.
It looks so good. It's the contorting that always gets me
Oh,
about Evil
yeah.
Dead movies,
Like the
and I
quick sudden movements. Yeah, it's very terrifying.
yes.
Yeah, the
But
crawling.
it's
Yeah.
so the effects are just so good, and it's so nice to know that that
It's
has
so
been carried
refreshing,
on.
yeah, that we're still doing it in some aspects of film because everything is very much CGI and digital and,
Well,
um,
no, I don't even just mean in general, I mean in Evil Dead sense.
yeah,
I mean in an Evil Dead sense.
that
It's just
they
nice
kept
that that's
on
carried
that
on,
tradition. Yeah, yeah.
because it should do, it should never go
Yeah, of
anywhere.
course. I think that's definitely something they need to
It
keep.
looks so much better. It's visceral. There was times in Evil Dead I was just going, "Oh god, that is horrendous. That is nasty." And it's like
Mhm.
people's, like, fingernails half coming off, and
Ah, like, oh, yeah, my whole audience lost it at the cheese
oh,
grater,
it's
like,
horrible.
yeah,
Yes, oh god, the cheese grater.
yeah,
It's horrendous. I mean, it's also everything you want from an Evil Dead movie in
yes.
terms of the
The gore
extreme
and the
gore of it.
extreme
You're
yeah,
here
mhm,
for that.
yeah.
That is what you go to watch this movie for. You go to watch this movie for humorously extreme gore. And
Yes,
you got that in droves,
in buckets
in
full.
bucketfuls, in elevatorfuls. I mean,
Yes.
towards the end of the movie, they come flying out of that elevator, covered,
In
caked in
blood,
all this blood.
yes, yeah,
And you think the Shining elevator had a lot of blood in it.
yeah,
This one's on another level.
yeah, yeah.
There's a wood chipper involved.
Oh my gosh.
For our climax,
Yeah,
involves
it
a
was
wood
terrifying.
chipper.
Yeah.
You know how much blood they can cause when
Oh,
bodies
yeah.
get put into them.
Grind up and spit out, yeah, yeah.
It's horrendous.
Also just some great
However,
shots. Mhm.
oh yes, sorry, I'm getting very excited. You do get, and I love this as well, is you do get your, again, this is showing that it wants to show love to previous Evil Dead, but still
Mhm.
wants to be fresh. I think you always have to show love to previous. I'll swallow your souls in there,
Mhm.
which is what you want. Your shotguns in there, your chainsaws in there.
Chainsaws in there, yeah,
The only thing
mhm.
it didn't have was someone's hand getting cut off.
Yes. I mean,
That
the
might
mom,
come in our next movie.
yeah. I think the mom gets, like, her leg and her arm blown off, but no, no.
No,
And the
no
sister
hand crawling around,
no.
strangling yourself. None of that.
No, no. So maybe
Unfortunately.
that's yet to come. But yeah, like some great shots in here. Like we definitely were getting some De Palma homages in here with the dual focused shot
Oh
when
god,
she's at the
yeah.
stove and the focus is on the mother and then it's focused on her kids in the background in the same shot. So very much giving Carrie vibes, in terms of
Yes.
another horror film. So yeah, and the kind of running of POV shot, very very familiar as well.
I mean, the end of the movie as well, isn't it? The end of the movie has the end of Evil Dead movie. What is the end of Evil Dead movies? You get the zoo. I always call it the zoo because you know what I mean when you talk
Yes,
about Evil
yeah.
Dead.
That's
It's
all you need to
a
say, and I know
camera
exactly what
that
you're talking about.
zooms across the forest floor and smashes through the door. Bruce Campbell turns around, screams because the Deadites there, and that's the end of the movie. That is
Mhm.
also the end of this movie.
Yes, which circles back to the beginning of the movie. So I like
It
that,
does. It's not Bruce
it
Campbell,
ends.
of course, but
Yes. It ends like what we know from other Evil Dead films, but the kind of different aspect of it is that we already saw kind of where that goes at the beginning of the movie. So then we
yeah.
see how that started, which I think is a really fun, um, kind of, twist on that
There's always
familiar
a lot of
thing.
POV, always a lot of POV in Evil Dead, and there's a lot of POV in this movie,
Mhm.
and I really like that.
Yeah.
I just, I, I can't speak highly enough of how wonderfully it blended its love for past Evil Dead
Mhm.
and its wanting to be completely fresh and completely new and actually ground itself. Like,
Yes.
who ever thought a grounded Evil Dead would tonally work? But it does. Because it's just the Deadites that are playing the jokes. It's the Deadites that bring the comedy.
Mhm.
Everything else is straight
Pretty
serious.
straight, yeah.
Because you don't have Bruce Campbell in here who's playing it up as he does
Yeah.
and as he wanted to, and as the movies at that time and the show wanted to as well.
Yeah.
They fit perfectly. They are supposed to be completely exaggerated and hammy,
Mhm.
but this isn't. And
No.
it blended
So well
far
with.
better than I could have
Mhm.
thought it would do.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I think that's something that the remake was lacking, was actually having fun.
Yeah.
It was too serious. It
True,
was
because,
too
yeah, we're
straight.
dealing with somebody who overdosed on drugs and they're detoxing, so it was very much, having a commentary and, a more emotional stakes and, uh, definitely taking itself serious in a lot of ways, and I don't think we get into really campy silliness until, like, the very end of the remake. Um,
No,
so
but is even
so
that
so
campy, or is it?
well,
It still takes itself
but
seriously.
I think
I
she's
I think
able to.
there's little humor in the
Yes.
remake.
But I think in the end, with that kind of final killing, I think that is where the
Yeah,
most kind of Evil Dead vibes come in.
yeah,
Um, but ultimately, this movie really finds a good balance of taking itself serious because you're dealing with these themes, these really interesting themes. But yeah, having these Deadites be, talking all this shit and being kind of wild and crazy in terms of the things that they're saying, really, really making a fun balance of what the original films were doing.
I honestly, I didn't think I would come out of it loving it as much as I have done.
Yeah, no, I
It is
really
a
enjoyed it.
wonderful movie.
Yes, yeah.
It really is. All the applause for Evil Dead Rise. I want to
Yay.
see more of this kind of
I
thing.
do too. Mhm.
Like, just obviously, you can't have the same characters. Well, I mean, you
I mean
could.
we have
You
2 plus
could.
1 on the way.
2 plus 1
You
on the
know,
way. That
yeah.
is true, who end up surviving the movie. And I suppose kind of an auntie and niece uh, dynamic would be interesting going forward anyway.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how, like, the 7-year-old survives this movie?
Yeah. The seemingly easiest one to plug off, but,
Yeah,
she
but
had
let's not
Stephanie.
forget,
She had
did
Stephanie, so
Staphne, her little weapon with a baby's head on,
yeah.
a doll baby's head on. to protect her. And she does actually
Yeah.
stab her own deadite sister through the mouth with it
Mhm. Yeah.
as well, which is nice, isn't it? But I think it's everything you want from an Evil Dead movie
Mhm.
and more,
Yes.
which is just a wonderful thing to have. More this version of Evil
Yeah,
Dead,
I
please. I
enjoyed
think
it.
it's the perfect version of Evil Dead to go forward with.
Yeah,
Tonally.
definitely
Um,
tapping into different things tone-wise with the franchise, but still keeping the inherent points of the original films purely there.
yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Well,
Yay.
yay. Massive love for Evil Dead Rise. It's going to take some doing to beat that for a horror movie of this year, I think. Yes, okay,
Oh, okay.
Scream 6, good, but is it actually as good as Evil Dead Rise? Hmm.
You can't ask me
Janine,
that. You know
Janine,
what I'll
Janine, Janine,
say.
Janine.
Um,
You,
no,
you
I
know
do
full
prefer
well you
I
thought Rowan
prefer
McDermott Mulroney and the ending of Scream 6 was a little bit of a misfire.
yeah, that is true, but I'm devoted, hopelessly
You are
devoted
devoted
to Scream.
to you to Scream. Hopelessly devoted to
Devoted to
Scream.
Scream.
That's what
Yes.
you should sing. That's what you should sing. Well,